What's up everyone and welcome to another one. In this video I'm going to be talking about how I created my 3x elevated cast on crit boot Vengeance Spark. This boot has elevated tailwind for an additional 25% increased tailwind effect, 20 cooldown recovery rate which is 5% higher than the non-elevated version, and 5 pierces over the normal 2. In this video I'll be going through the thought process, the mod breakdown and the cost estimation of such a boot. Alright, so the reason why I wanted to craft these boots is because I find that the elevated pierce mod is quite strong compared to a lot of other elevated mods. Of course, we're on a time schedule as far as Harvest leaving the game, and since I already have my cast on crit bow, I figured I need a nice pair of pierce boots to complement that if I want to be playing ethereal knives. Alright, so as far as the mod breakdown, we're gonna look at just simply what these mods are and what they will do. Starting from top to bottom, we have 5 pierces. This is the elevated pierce, which is a hunter mod. We have 89 life, 35 movement speed, 20% increased cooldown recovery rate, which is a shaper suffix. This makes it so stuff such as cast on crit, immortal call, cast when damage taken, pretty much anything you can think of that has some sort of cooldown on it is reduced by 20%. It's a very popular mod to make your cast on crit proc more often. Then we have Tailwind with 25% increased effect, which is the elevated version of Hunter's Tailwind mod. As final mod, I have Cold Resistance. This could literally be anything. You can choose to perhaps even remove the resist completely and put on a Mastercraft, or you can quite easily get the 35% ailment avoidance, which is also a shaper modifier. That one is a bit tricky to elevate. I would not recommend doing so because it's extremely hard. Going back to the implicit, we have 20% to fire and cold resistance. This is a legacy base, and as the enchant currently I have damage leeches life. However, I'm likely going to be swapping that to 80% chance to avoid being stunned. Okay, so let's get to the approach of the craft. I will be showing in Craft of Exile how I approached my craft and what I did to increase my odds and all that stuff. So that's going to be quite a long clip of about 15 minutes here, and if you want to skip through that, then there's obviously a timestamp in the description. We're crafting a pair of boots, strength decks. These are all going to be non-legacy modifiers, so let's see, 86 eye level, and we're going to get 30 quality, and we're going to have Hunter and Shaper. Right, so this is how we start. Now we just have to assume that this is legacy. It is not, but let's just bless that to 12% right there. Okay, so the cost part is a bit irrelevant here because I will skipping some of the mods that I'm going to put on because they're quite obvious. So the way that I would normally go about with this is I would go and use the menagerie to safely be able to always have imprints of items. So normally what I would do is I would alterate this boot until I hit Tailwind. So I would go ahead and alterate this until I hit Tailwind. Now I'm not gonna bore you guys, so we're just gonna go here and we're gonna go to suffixes, and we're just gonna add the Tailwind onto it like that. I'll just add the let's see. So that's how it normally would look. Let me see if I can, yeah, whatever. So that's how it would normally look, except, let me see if I can make it blue. There we go. All right, so this is how I would normally have it look, and what I will do then is that I would go ahead and go to the boots here, and go to strength and dex. Here you can see all the tags on the item. So I have a shaper influence on this boot. Let me just add that, and we have a hunter influence as well. Like right there. So as far as chaos prefixes, the only two that I can hit are +2 to socketed chaos gems or unaffected by desecrated grounds. So that means that if I would augment chaos or augment fire or augment cold, these are all gonna give me influence modifiers. So you can either do augment fire, cold, or chaos. By doing so, we would have to go to harvest, and we're gonna go to Exalted Orb. I'm not sure why it's not letting me augment onto a blue item. That is totally possible. I guess we have to use this? No. Oh, augment and then chaos. Let's say chaos, right? Augment chaos. So we're guaranteed to get a hunter mod. Now, what I would normally do here is, that's where the imprint comes in. I would use an imprint so that we have a backup of this. I'm not sure if I can use an eternal here. It doesn't look like it. But normally I would then use a imprint. After the imprint, I will go ahead and Maven Orb. And in this case, it's screwed up. So what I can then do is I can undo that and imprint this again. Because you do an imprint, you basically don't have to reroll for the Tailwind, which is about 4 exalts, and imprint is 1.5 exalts. On average, you're going to save money. Anyway, if it does happen to screw up like it just did, you will just have to use the imprint that you just used. You're going to be down 1 Maven Orb. That's the game. You go again, and it's screwed up again. You go again, you imprint again. There we go. 3rd time's the charm. And that's basically it. Now, what I would do in this case, I would actually imprint it again. Just to have that backup in case you ever happen to accidentally scour the item when you're doing your prefix meta crafting or whatever. It's a small cost. I mean, this boot as is worth at least 1.5 Maven Orbs. That's how I usually calculate my Maven Orbs and whether something is worth it. If it's either a fail or not, you're either going to spend 1 or 2. You always spend 1. That's the baseline. So if it fails, then you're going to have to spend 2. So if you just assume that a Maven Orb is like 40x, then a boot like this is worth at least 60x because it has a elevated mod that you would like. So in my book, always imprint. I always have imprint after Mavening. And that's it for that boot. Now, as far as Awakener Orbing, that's the next step of this. So you would roll a different boot, which you want to roll for cooldown recovery rate. And this is double influence right now. Let me remove that. As you can see, it's very common. The thing that you do want, though, you want to roll this along with a different mod, because this one is also one that you're going to be Maven Orbing. Now, because this is such a common mod to hit, and especially you literally just Chaos Orb into it, and then you hope that you get a different influence mod as well. So this one is really easy, it's cheap, so I would say don't bother to even imprint it, and straight up just Chaos Spam for it. If you don't hit it, toss it away, go again, Chaos Spam it again, and just go by trial and error like that. So after you have that base and you have the elevated cooldown recovery, you're going to go ahead and Awaken or Orb these two together. So let's go ahead and just make this a rare real quick, like that. And I will add the Shaper modifier onto this that says cooldown recovery rate with elevated stats. So there you have the suffixes. Now here comes the block that I was talking about. So I mentioned in my price check a block for a suffix. What I mean by that is that you're going to want to hit a suffix so that you can start meta crafting. The suffix could literally be anything, so you just go to harvest and you go to, for example, let's see, you don't really want to try to avoid fire cold because they are tagged here on the shaper. Also avoid chaos because it can potentially be hit on there, and you don't want to be hit a prefix, especially not if you end up in a situation like this where you just finished your Awaken Orb and you have a open prefix that you can potentially hit. So what can we get? So let's see. If we go lightning, there's not a single lightning tag on here or on here. So if I put on a lightning augment here, it will guaranteed hit the resistance. Easy as that. Now there's two things you can do. You can either go cheap or you can go expensive. Now the state of the boot is right like this at the moment, with cooldown recovery, tailwind, a 41 lightning res. That is currently what the boot looks like, and we're looking to hit prefixes. So we're going to go ahead and go to Exalted Orb, and we're going to have a open prefix, and we're not going to block anything there. Now, we do want to block the highest weighted mod here, which is life. The reason why you don't want life right now is because you're going to have to Maven Orb the prefixes as well. So you will not have space. You will need to remove the life anyway eventually. Alright, so because I blocked it, this thing resets, so let's go ahead and say that it's only available prefixes right now. And we are looking to hit +2 to pierce. 61 exalt. That is 122 exalts worth of meta crafting, because for every 2 exalts that you slam, you're going to have to spend 2 exalts. Putting suffix is going to be changed back on there. So what you can alternatively do, you can go ahead and go into the harvest right now, and you can prefix, reforge prefixes, or reforge the item keeping suffixes. That's the cheaper approach, and it's going to cost you probably, on average, you're going to hit 2 mods per try, because you can hit 1 to 3. It's a little bit more weighted towards the 1 there, but I feel like, but either way, you can hit 1 to 3 mods. Going to take you roughly 30 of those, which if you buy them for 30 or 1x each, obviously it's going to cost you about 30 exalts to do it like that. This will cost you time, obviously. So alternatively, what you can do, you can just metacraft, just like I did. And I was extremely unlucky, I will say that. I'll put in a clip in the end of the video, or after this part of the video. And that was already quite a lot in. I think I have the clips though, at least. Yeah, so after this, you want to go ahead and augment chaos again, because as you have no suffixes left, you can augment chaos, you can augment fire, you can augment cold. It doesn't matter. You can augment any of these. So let's say we're just gonna put on that, and now as last mod, we're gonna craft on the suffixes cannot be changed. Now I cannot add it, I think, unless I do it like that. It doesn't show if I block it, but as final mod, you're gonna put on suffixes cannot be changed, and this is why it doesn't matter if you have life to begin with, because the life is gonna you're gonna have to wipe that off anyway in the end. Now again, 50-50, whether you hit this or not, you're either gonna elevate the burning ground or you're gonna hit the projectiles. If I could recommend something, I would say maybe try to get desecrated ground as a prefix, so try to augment chaos, because that will lead into poison immunity. Poison immunity is quite good with cooldown recovery and tailwind, so even if you would fail it, you could still sell the boot and probably profit quite a lot of it. There are people out there that would like the desecrated ground elevation, so try to maybe go for this. That's ideal. If you want to milk the most out of the craft, you can even go as far as to suffix going to be changed and remove add chaos, because there's 2 chaos mods here. There's the +2 to chaos gems, and there's the unaffected. Now this one has a bad elevation, that has a really good elevation, so yeah, try to get that and then elevate it, and if it hits the unaffected, just stick with it. Still, it's a really good cast and crit boot. A lot of people use self-poison on cast and crit builds, so yeah, definitely good. Anyway, in this case, we're going to be looking at a 50-50 chance of hitting the pierce, and assuming that we did, so we're going to add that to this, and we're going to add pierce 5 additional targets, just like that. Also, we're gonna remove the armor roll from that, so we can go to harvest and we can annul defenses like that. Right, so now we're at this state where we have, just like this said, if you succeeded, it's gonna look like this, except there's gonna be 5. Unfortunately, I don't think we can actually show elevated mods on here yet. But you're going to be looking at something like this, and the next step that you can do, that you should do, is life. Now the reason why you want to do life before movement speed is because you can potentially hit armor and life, or armor and evasion and life, my bad. So if you augment life, you have a chance of hitting, let me just remove that, you have a chance of hitting the hybrids here. You can hit these as well. So there is a 2,000 out of 9,000 chance that you will hit one of these. If you hit one of these, you want to augment life again because it blocks the other ones. If you hit this, I don't know if that will show, but it will block these. Anyway, what that means is you don't only want to remove add life. According to my price check, I priced it based on only remove adding life. It's going to be a 1 in 11 to hit tier 1 life. If you want to be a bit more cost efficient, you want to augment life, and then if you hit one of these, augment life again. If you don't hit one of these, you want to remove add life. If you then hit one of these, you want to augment life again. Basically, it's going to save you a little bit. It's not a whole lot. So if that's all too big brain, just remove add life until you hit tier 1 life. That's going to cost you, I think it was roughly 130 something exalts. After that, you could have already done the resist. It doesn't matter, you can do the resist in the end if you want to. Anyway, this is just like an approach. It doesn't matter if you do the resist now or later. You can even do it at the same time, I think, especially if you do lightning res, you can do it at the same time. With fire and cold, not so much because these mods exist. So be aware of that. So when you do want to remove add fire or remove add cold, make sure to block your last prefix. Otherwise, you're good to go. In this case, at this current state, you're good to go. And you can always swap resistances around later with Harvest. There are purple crafts that make you be able to swap a lightning res to a cold res, or vice versa, through every single element except for chaos because it's not an element. And it will keep the tier. So very easy to swap the resist around if you should need to do so. Alright, so last but not the least, we're going to be having to get to the 35 ms. Now, if you want to settle for 30, that's fine. I don't give a shit. If you're happy with 30, do what you're happy with. If you don't even want movement speed to begin with, don't get movement speed. But we're talking about the boot that I created in this case, and that has movement speed. This is a 1 in 6 augment speeds or remove add speeds to hit, which is going to clock in at about 150x worth of movement speed crafts. And finally, to finalize this entire thing, remove add lightning to then get to the tier 1 lightning. And there's only one lightning mod as a suffix, I'm pretty sure. Shaper actually has avoid ailment, which has all the tags. If I hit this, I will be very happy as well. 35% chance to avoid ailments is very strong. Can be paired up with some nodes on the tree, and you will be able to get full immunity through chest, I think. Getting the elevated version of this would be extremely powerful, but it's probably not possible because it's going to be very YOLO. It is possible, but it's very hard to go triple suffix elevation. I would not suggest anyone doing that because then you're looking more towards a 3000 Exalt boot or some shit like that. Anyway, assuming we have all that done, we're just going to go ahead and force this and basically put on the tier 1 lightning, which we can then swap around with the harvest craft. So I swapped it to cold instead, so not sure if I can swap these around easily. It doesn't look like it, so we're just going to remove lightning, tap the remove lightning on there, and then we're going to tap it with a augment cold. Oh, we cannot, wait, why? There's no cold modifier to remove. Oh, right. There. And then we're just going to swap it for that, and that's basically what it would look like. So as far as prefixes, we would be doing a 35% MS, and we would get tier 1 life. Now, the divining of this is very hard, so what I would suggest you do is right after Awakener Orbing, you want to roll the Tailwind and the cooldown recovery to perfect. You can obviously also do that later, however, the Pierce has a 3 to 5 range, and it does not have a tag, so if anything, divine these two, they don't have any tags, so I'm not sure what the chance is going to be to get this perfect, but it's obviously very low. We can see down here, I'm just going to be spamming this for a little bit, and we'll see if we actually hit 100% there. But you're basically having to roll Tailwind, Pierce, and cooldown recovery all at once, which is extremely hard. We did have a 99% up here, I believe. I would like to see what that one was. 94%. We hit 20 cooldown. Oh, that was actually perfect. I'm not sure if we can like quickly go back there, but as you can see, that would have been ideal. 5 pierces and 20 and 25. The only thing that was off was the cold res, however, that's targetable. Anyway, so to make it easier on your divine stack, try to divine the suffixes before the prefixes are full. Then you want a suffix gonna be changed, and then you want to get the 5 pierces. That's pretty much it for the boot. I'm gonna be showing you some content on. Oh my god. I'm gonna be showing you some meta crafting, I think, right after here, and that's pretty much how you would want to go about crafting this. And after that, I'm gonna be recapping on how much I ended up spending on the boots compared to how much I was expecting to spend, which we already know is about 706 exalts, I believe it was. So yeah. Oh my god, fuck! Finally, dude. Holy shit. Let's go. Something went well. Another RNG barrier surpassed. Now it's pretty free. I'll just divine it a billion times. Alright, and with that we have come to the final part of the video. The comparison between the estimated and the actual cost of the boot. On the left, the estimated. On the right, the actual cost. The base cost includes Fenomenal Plague, the Arachnid for a split, imprints, Chaos Orbs, alterations, those kind of things that are really not going to change a whole lot either way. Anyway, let's get into the more expensive parts of the craft, which first off, the meta crafting. The meta crafting was estimated at 183 exalts, and it ended up costing me 208. That's quite close to each other, so I definitely approve that. As far as the Maven Orbing, I was extremely unlucky because of my Shaper boot missing the elevated cooldown recovery 4 times in a row. And then on the 5th one, I ended up getting it. Other than that, I hit all of the other ones. I'm pretty much on the first try, I believe. Except for the Tailwind. I failed the Tailwind once. It came down to 8 Maven Orbs that I actually ended up spending on it. And it was estimated to cost 4.5. Alright, so as far as the harvest crafting, I was extremely lucky. In live crafts, it was supposed to cost me 143 exalts at remove add life with 13 exalts each, which was 11 of them, and I ended up only using 4. Thanks to Beastas Vistas for hitting that one. That was amazing. Speed crafts, I ended up augmenting once, and I remove added once, and that was that for the movement speed. The lightning was actually an accident. I was just supposed to fill up the boot or something, and then I remove added it once, and yeah, there we go, at the T1 lightning. So because I was extremely lucky on the harvest crafting, I actually ended up still netting a actual money save of almost 100 exalts compared to what the boot would have initially cost. I would say that's very good, and I have nothing to complain about, to be fair. Anyway, that is it for this video for today. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I hope to see you guys in my live stream next week. I will be live from 11 a.m. in the morning until 8 in the evening, Monday through Friday, Central European time. That is GMT +1. I think it might be swapping to +2 right now because of some summertime stuff, but I'm not quite sure. Anyway, link to my stream is in the description as always. I hope you guys have a great weekend and stay safe during these corona times. Coom is out.